Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Playmakerz Blog Podcast, College Football Edition. You know me, your host, I am the Playmaker Saunders, and this is going to be a very fun, intriguing episode. My co-host, Dallas Clinton, how you doing?
Doing a lot better than the NFL podcast.
Oh, whoa, my goodness. You ready? This is going to be a fun episode, Dallas.
Yeah, it is.
We're talking about what happened in championship weekend. We're gonna talk about what the playoff committee did. We're gonna look at some interesting bowls that's set up for right now. We're not gonna pick, but we're just gonna look at a couple interesting ones. And we do got Saturday, Dallas. I think you know quite a bit about this game this Saturday.
Yes.
So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into what happened last week. Championship weekend began Friday night. And you know, every time I do this, Dallas gets the laugh. So I'm just gonna say the Pac-12 championship, Dallas.
Cannibalism at its finest, a delicacy.
Didn't I not tell y'all what was gonna happen? Even though I picked Utah. But did I tell you when they lost to Arizona State, watch Oregon win the Pac-12 championship? Matter of fact, it was dominant fashion there, Dallas. They dominated the Utah Utes.
They never saw it coming.
37-15. CJ, running back for Oregon, 18 carries. You know how many yards he had, Dallas, on 18 carries?
How many?
208. With 3 TDs.
That's a damn shame.
For another year in a row, Dallas, guess what conference is not in the playoffs?
Who?
The Pac-12.
Gasp. You mean the one conference I said was done in like week 4? And you didn't want to believe me?
When Arizona State beat Oregon, I just sat there and said, hey, Oregon finna win the Pac-12. And nobody's getting in the playoffs.
I knew when Hawaii walked out that hell slate 2-1 that the Pac-12 was probably going to have a rough year. I mean, yeah, Hawaii ended up going to their first ever Mountain West championship game, but when Hawaii had 3 straight Pac-12 games to open the season and won 2 of them, that's when I knew the Pac-12 was going to probably be the worst Power 5 conference. Now, here's the crazy thing. People will say that the ACC top to bottom is the worst Power 5 conference, but, I mean, did we really think that if Utah won their game, they were going to get into the playoff? The way Wisconsin played that first half? I mean, come on.
Yeah, it would have been a discussion, but they didn't, which made the Big 12 championship that's so much more important.
Like, bro, like, see, here's the sad thing. Wisconsin had a great first half. Georgia got blown out. You could say, well, Dallas, I mean, come on, they're 5th, and, all they would have had to do was beat Oregon. They didn't have to blow them out, but, bro, come on. Jalen Hurts did it again. Jalen Hurts ain't going to win the Heisman, but there's a reason why he's taking a trip to New York.
CeeDee Lamb, 8 receptions, 173 yards.
Game breaker. He's going to make an NFL team very happy. Might be a lot of garbage time happening, but he's going to make them very happy.
Look here. The only reason why the game was still close because Baylor's defense started to step up, and they made a quarterback switch. They actually went to their 3rd-string quarterback. And the 3rd-string quarterback was lining up the Sooners' defense.
Matt Rule can only do so much.
But that boy CeeDee Lamb was special.
That boy good. I mean, bro, look. One of our picks is in the top 10. I think we should go big people, but I would not be upset if I saw CeeDee Lamb on the dashboard ticker. Would not be upset one bit. He probably won't even be there, though.
Oklahoma wins the Big 12 championship. And we're going to go in a timely order here, Dallas. So Shout out to the Miami of Ohio Warehouse. They are the MAC champions. The Sun Belt.
Jesus Christ.
We saw two different teams.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah.
Appalachian State was beating the brakes off of Louisiana, and somehow, some way, Louisiana almost sent it to overtime to only lose by a touchdown.
It's why at the end of the day, even with a 12-1 season, it's kind of difficult to consider them for a certain prize.
So for the second year in a row, Appalachian State is your Sun Belt champion.
But all newspaper awards aside, bro, like Appalachian State is 12-1 right now at the end of the regular season. I don't know who their bowl game is against, but I mean, Appalachian State beat two Power 5 teams this year. One was coached by Mac Brown. So, I mean, I give them a good edge without even knowing who they're facing. As long as they're not facing somebody absurd, like somebody who should have been in the playoff this year or could have been in the playoff this year, I probably give them the edge. 13-1 after finishing last year as the 25th team in the college football playoff rankings. That's one of those things where it's like, bro, if you could just figure out a way to either get out the Sun Belt or stop making that second and third team look like, they'll be competitive after a couple recruiting classes. It'd be interesting because the Sun Belt's never going to have a year like the American had.
Then we move on to the CUSA.
It's a shame.
A beat down took place.
And that's
the beat down commenced.
Good thing Birmingham is used to violence.
The troll has begun. FAU and Lane Kiffin gave UAB a beating they will never forget. A 49-6 victory to win the Conference USA title yet again.
I am sure it has happened before. I'm not going to have I'm sure there has been an instance where the team has rallied around their head coach and sent him off into the sunset. But my God, I have not seen one in recent memory where the team they played like Lane Kiffin got drafted. They didn't play like their coach was leaving them high and dry to go, play Nick Saban and lose for the next 4 years. Bro, they sent Lane Kiffin off like he got drafted in the first round. They sent Lane Kiffin off like he was one of the boys. They beat the hell out of UAB. No dysfunction.
Yeah, that 7.5 favorite FAU was, they just squashed that.
I mean, the bad beat was by the 14th minute in the first quarter.
Jeez, what a beat down.
Oh my God. Scott Van Pelt was like, why did I even turn this game on?
So, and then we get to the real ones again.
Yes.
American Championship, round 2, Cincinnati, Memphis.
There were two.
And Cincinnati did it again.
Well.
They were up against Memphis and found themselves only losing into a 29-24. Memphis, the American champions.
Surprising you went with this game first, but I'll let you finish.
No, I'm going in the order of the way they was played.
Oh, I know, but come on, certain editorial decisions considering the fact that you're running over the national championship game to talk about something else.
We're going to get to that. Let me cover everything right here. And then you had the SEC. That is, they mentioned Georgia got blown out, right?
Yes.
That would be to LSU in the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
Even though we already knew Joe Burrow already won the Heisman, he just basically put his official stamp on it.
That boy good.
So even though two other people are in the Heisman race, and I know both of them is from the same school, we know how that's gonna go.
We know one damn show ain't winning it. So when the final vote tally comes out, I'm gonna see if any small school guys got one vote because I don't know why they put. I get why, but I mean, bro, like Chase Young had a great season for a college dude, but like it ain't like he had like an NFL numbers in D1. He didn't break like the 20 threshold. I don't think he might have broke the 70 tackle threshold. I don't know, but he didn't do nothing crazy to make you think he has a shot in hell to beat Joe Burrow for the Heisman. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Justin Fields, maybe. Nah, I don't think so. No.
I don't see it because what doesn't help Justin Fields is a defensive player from his team made the Final Four. You can't be in the Heisman conversation when somebody else on your team made it to New York. If you're not even the clear-cut best player on your team, how are you the clear-cut best player in the country?
So, yeah, Joe Burrow, Heisman. And to Dallas's point, might be the first overall pick.
Yeah. Cincinnati, yeah, most def.
Mountain West Championship. At first, Hawaii came to play, and then Boise State realized what was going on, and then you say, you know what, we must end this right now.
Yeah, Hawaii was they were trying, but I think they were trying a little bit too hard. They were doing some crazy things. Like there was a point where they were going to go for it at the goal line, wasted the timeout, sent out their field goal team and pulled their field goal team back. The call on the radio, they were confused. I was confused. I think the fans were confused. Hell, I know the players were confused. Stuff like that in a game that you're not going to win, but you're not helping yourself at all. And then the doors blew open. There was a big gust in the farm. So
21-point victory for the Mountain West champions of Boise State.
Those Broncos just always find a way to stay relevant. The Ball State outlasted. Western Michigan outlasted. UCF outlasted. They've seen a lot come and they've seen a lot go. They're like Jason Peters in the Eagles locker room. Boise State just finds a way to stay relevant, stay a champion.
And then the other blowout of championship weekend came from the ACC championship.
I don't even know why they made that a primetime game. They should have flexed that to noon and had the Big 12 game be the main event game. I don't even know why they had that game so late.
Clemson sent the message and they sent it early.
Did they really? Bro, did they really?
Yeah. Well, I get your point. But you know how Dabo is.
I don't, because bro, the game actually wasn't a blowout till like the second quarter.
It's
not that Clemson played down to Virginia's level. It's just they let Virginia play up to theirs.
For a quarter.
But that's the problem, and that's been the committee's problem. Like, even with them breaking 60, the fact that they didn't get to 80.
62 to 17, and yeah.
I mean, but that's the problem. Like, bro, why did they get 17? Why are you acting like it's garbage time in the first half? That 17 is supposed to come in the last 10 minutes when you're up by 60. Not in the first half. When
I mean, they're dealing with a third quarterback. You got to see what his tendency was going to be. He got him in the first drive, and then they figured it out. So, all right, now we know what you like to do. We got this covered.
And that's the problem. That's why Dabo has been talking so hard. It's funny because some of the people on ESPNU and SEC Network there, a lot of people are talking about how Dabo is still talking so hard to the players. A lot of people are talking about how Dabo is still mentioning how the media is doubting his players. There's a reason why a head coach keeps saying the same messaging over and over and over again. And it's funny because the media keeps saying the same thing, but they get tired of when a coach says the same thing. They want to feel some type of way. But Dabo Swinney knows what's going on here. He knows why he has to keep saying what he's saying over and over and over again, because he saw the first quarter of the ACC championship game and thought, oh my God, these boys must really have thought that we were just going to walk in here and win by 70. It wasn't really thought that it was just going to be garbage time after first kickoff. Dabo saw that first half and was like, they still don't get it.
And then, again, the committee is probably like, thank you for the second half. Because The chaos and the conversation that would have been needed to have if Wisconsin would have beat the brakes off Ohio State.
They were doing what I suggested in the first half. Jonathan Taylor had 135 yards the first half.
It was not looking good for the Buckeyes. It was down 21-7 in the first half. In Ohio State, they allowed one extra point in the second half to win 34-21.
And Wisconsin, good God. Wisconsin played the second half like they were the ones that needed to come back from 2 scores down coming out the half. I don't understand how. This is what I mean by hero coaching. I mentioned this in the NFL podcast. Like, dude, Jonathan Taylor has 135 yards. You're up by 2 scores. At the very least, eat the clock and kick a field goal, or eat the clock and land a punt inside the 20. What are all these passing attempts? What are all these attempts to let Chase Young do his thing? Run the damn ball. You're Wisconsin. You will always be Wisconsin. You got 30 minutes. Run the damn ball.
They almost gave you what you wanted, Dallas. I don't know what happened in the second half.
I don't understand. I don't get it. And in the college level, coaching is crucial. In the college level, coaching is the X factor. Coaching can take you somewhere where you're not supposed to be. And the coaches, for whatever reason, at Wisconsin want to be like the coaches at Georgia Tech and just change up the formula. For why?
So that's the recap real quick. Oregon Ducks, your Pac-12 champions. Appalachian State, your Sun Belt champions. Oklahoma Sooners, your Big 12 champions. Miami of Ohio Redhawks, your MAC champions.
Jesus Christ.
FAU Owls, your CUSA champions. Memphis Tigers, your American champions. Boise State, your Mountain West champions. The LSU Tigers, your SEC champions. The Clemson Tigers, your ACC champions. And Ohio State, your Big 10 champions. Anything you want to add before we close out championship weekend talk?
A 5-loss team won a championship.
For those who don't know, that's Miami of Ohio.
I mean, I guess. I don't know. It's tricky, man, because, the way that the formula is set up and the way that, the polls and all that, it's just, I wonder what happened to, Buffalo and Ball State and Northern Illinois. It's going to be tricky, man, because a 5-loss team winning a Group of 5 championship going into next season, I worry because a team's going to have to go on a 9 or 10 win run just to get ranked. Look at what App State had to do this season to actually get ranked. And then they fell all the way out the ranking when they lost their game. If they weren't App State, they probably wouldn't have gotten back in. Just looking forward for the MAC, because they've had an appearance because they had Western Michigan make a bowl, but Western Michigan had to go 14-1. They ended up going 14-1. They went 14-0, and I think they lost the New Year's Six bowl game. But yeah, 5 losses, won the championship. Ooh.
All right, so talk about these rankings, sir.
Which ones?
The final college football playoff rankings. All the championship games were played, and then on the following day, during the NFL Sunday, they released the rankings. And at number 1, the LSU Tigers from the SEC. They are the ones going into the playoffs. Number 2 is the Ohio State Buckeyes, winners of the Big Ten. Number 3, them Clemson Tigers. If those of you who already know this and your eyebrows is raising because you know the interest level when it comes to 2 versus 3. Clemson Tigers, Ohio State. We'll talk about that a little further in a bit. Number 40, Oklahoma Sooners beating the Baylor Bears for a potential that was pretty much the play-in game. So whoever would have won the Big 12 would have been in the fourth spot after what Oregon did to Utah. So
yeah.
Number 5, the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 6, the Oregon Ducks. Yeah, Pac-12 champions. Number 7, the Baylor Bears. Number 8, the Wisconsin Badgers. Number 9, the Florida Gators. Number 10, Penn State. Number 11 is the Utah Utes. Number 12, the Auburn Tigers. Alabama 13, Michigan 14. Sucker those two. Notre Dame 15, 16 is Iowa. 17 is Memphis, 18 is Minnesota, 19 is Boise State, 20 Appalachian State, 21 Cincinnati, 22 USC, 23 Navy, 24 Virginia, 25 Ohio State. Gotta say whatever you need to say about the final rankings of the playoff committee.
Who's 25?
Oklahoma State.
Okay. First of all, Michigan and Notre Dame would get boat raced by Alabama, even with their current quarterback situation. I don't know why the hell Notre Dame and Michigan are that high. But, I mean, Oregon climbing up that high, even though they did blow out the number 5 team in the country in the conference championship. I just feel like, look, if you're going to take a team from 13th to 6th, even with a blowout win over a top 5 team, I don't know. But I think that with the way things shook out, Ohio State definitely had to drop. I think Clemson with the final score, and people don't know what happened, because I don't know the rating for the ACC championship game. It's a lot different than pro wrestling, A, because college football can have a scripted result, but B, because alumni networks, local media, small towns usually support their college teams like a pro team. So I'm sure people tuned into the ACC championship game, but, still, they needed that final score to be what it was. Oklahoma, I mean, look, CeeDee Lamb gets triple coverage. If there's a spy on Jalen Hurts, Oklahoma might get boat raced. But at the same time, look, as bad as Oklahoma was last year, they play in a Power 5 conference, not just have an agreement like Notre Dame. They beat Baylor twice. They won a rivalry game on the road, the last regular season game. They didn't, be out and try to schedule a cupcake or Kansas or whatever. They played a rivalry game on the road, just like everybody else. I mean, between losses and wins and beating a team that was in the contention for the playoff twice, there's nobody else to really put, man. If Alabama wins the Iron Bowl, maybe you have a little bit of an argument, but nah, bro. Like, there's no real. I'm not even nitpicky about the seeding, because at the end of the day, I don't care whether it's 1-4 or 2-3. Ohio State Clemson is about to be legit. That is going to be. I'm sure that was a lot of people's, like when they did their preseason practice or whatever. That's probably a lot of people's national championship game. So getting that game in the first round and then knowing that team is going to have to go and either beat a LSU team that blew out Oklahoma or beat an Oklahoma team that upset LSU, that's actually going to be fire. Because, see, here's the thing. I think Clemson having to face Ohio State and LSU is a harder road than if Oklahoma got to face LSU and then played Ohio State or Clemson. Clemson played a weak schedule, and they haven't really played up yet. They've had a lot of blowouts, and Dabo's been trying, but he knows, like, he's about to see whether or not his coaching has worked when they play up against a top 4 team in the country. With Ohio State, Oklahoma's been playing Ohio State football for a while now. The only difference is the defenses. So, but whereas with Clemson, bro, like, if you got to play Ohio State and their defense and open up the way Trevor Lawrence has been looking, then turn around and play LSU and their defense, this might be one of the few years where it's like, bro, like, number 4, they played the hardest team in the country in the first round, but the second round, Bro, if it was Clemson, Oklahoma for the national championship, I'd pick Oklahoma. Because there's no way Oklahoma faces LSU fresh off like a 2-week bye, beats them, and doesn't smoke Oklahoma. I mean, I'll smoke Clemson.
All right, so as you heard from that, playoff semifinals, December 28th. Peach Bowl first up from Atlanta, Georgia. 4 p.m. ESPN. Number 1 LSU Tigers. Number 4 Oklahoma Sooners. Then following that, 8 p.m. on ESPN from the Fiesta Bowl in Glendale, Arizona. Number 2 Ohio State. Number 3 the Clemson Tigers. That is real quick before I transition. Some people believe that the Fiesta Bowl is actually the national championship game.
Who's in the Fiesta?
Ohio State and Clemson.
Oh, my bad. I mean, yeah, bro, if we did this like how we used to back in the day, like, for example, we have our own little thing, but say, like, the AP just released their final, didn't they? Well, no, their final is actually who does the deal, but if there's like some official ranking system out there, I'd believe it. Back in the 80s, I believe it, because you could have the nice little playoff or whatever and still have like another championship out there that's recognized. I'm with it. I see it because, again, this game right here is marquee. You got the defending national champion against one of the perennial programs in college football. Let's call a spade, bro. This is the first year LSU has played spread football. This is Joe Burrow, who couldn't cut it at Ohio State, now goes to a team that's never really had a quarterback like him and lights it up. This is Oklahoma, who plays in the Big 12 where they don't play defense. And truth be told, if Jalen Hurts gets benched or goes out for whatever reason, Oklahoma is toast and dead in the water. And that's just a long 60-minute mercy rule. So I can see why some people would say that.
Well, then it's going to be interesting when we get further into the month. But there was some coaching changes that took place, some noticeable ones. And Dallas, you're the man of the coaches, you're the man of the people, so you go ahead and inform the people what's going on.
One that happened like right before we started recording, UNLV is getting Oregon's offensive coordinator. So his name escapes me. I'm sure UNLV fans will care. But the two main ones that are interesting is Power 5 going down to Group of 5. Clemson's offensive coordinator or defense coordinator, one of their coordinators, is going down to USF. Oregon has a coordinator going down to UNLV. This is one of the most competitive years that the Group of 5 has seen as far as that chase for the bowl and in the year 6, the Cotton Bowl. So you would think, oh, wow, okay, well, coordinators, Group of 5 is competitive, recruiting, blah, blah, blah. Not necessarily. App State, Memphis, all lost their coaches right after the championship Saturday. Lane Kiffin is going back to the SEC. App State's coach, I'm still trying to figure out because all these articles are not helping your boy out. But, yeah, and Memphis's coach, I mean, that's the really big news. He's going down to FSU. The two main ones that stick out to me, Lane Kiffin and Norvell from Memphis. I don't know why you leave a 12-1 team that just won the conference UCF is in. And I don't know why you leave a team in Florida that just had 10 wins in the conference championship. I don't know why you leave those situations to go to Florida State, who just had their first bad coach in school history, and Ole Miss, who was in the same division as Alabama, same division as Mississippi State, same division as LSU, and yeah, you've been rehabbing your image and rehabbing your career, and now you're going to, first of all, and I do mean offense to the great people of Mississippi, you're going from Boca Raton to Mississippi. Few people in this country would make that switch and think that they're benefiting their personal lives and professional careers. But Lane is doing so.
So, as you heard, Mike Norwell leaving Memphis, going to Florida State. Lane Kiffin leaving FAU for Ole Miss. No word if Lane Kiffin will coach the bowl game, but there's word that Mike Norwell would not be coaching the bowl game with Memphis. How you feel about that?
Yeah, and he's not coaching the bowl game at FSU either, I think.
So how you feel about that? That we would not be coaching the bowl game?
Again, like I can see it. Well, no, I can't see it because look, if you haven't politicked for your top assistant to at least a preferred interview, and by preferred interview, I mean like, hey, look, I know you're doing a coaching change. I know you keep this level of success, but if you really want to keep things the status quo and really want to keep things together, I really think you should consider my guy and intern a lot of my staff if you really want to keep things going, because it wasn't just me that had a 12-1 season. Unless he did that, I don't really know why you don't coach in the bowl game. You got that team to 12-1, just like everybody else got that team to 12-1, and you should enjoy that because I do not want to be at FSU's dumpster fire. And on top of that, you're a new guy coming in who didn't go to FSU and, was coaching in the group of 5 for a couple years. I let Odell Haggins have that bowl game because he's the one that kept that team together. He's the one that kept that team together when Jimbo Fisher left. He's basically the heart and the core, and he's the one that the guys respond to. If you go to FSU now after leaving your team after having a 12-1 season and try to act like, you're the father figure and you're the leader and try to implement your culture during bowl season but don't coach in the bowl game, it's just not a good look. Let the season end for both schools. Yeah, you're the FSU head coach, but do what Lane Kiffin did, okay? There was rumors. He won the championship Saturday game. Now he's hotty-toddy Ole Miss. Play your bowl game. It's a little bit different for Lane Kiffin because he said it himself in the interview. He did everything possible to prep for championship Saturday, but did all the Ole Miss stuff and took all the phone calls after work. But when you go to Ole Miss and when you do the rollout and everything like that, and granted, Norvell got a rollout too, it's just, this is Lane Kiffin we're talking about. This is a clear ego move. Going to the SEC West where it is not guaranteed to be successful, that's an ego move. That's Lane Kiffin. He just had to get back into the spotlight. Norvell, though, taking the FSU job. At this point right now, Darnell, who's to say FSU is a better job than Memphis? Like, you're in the same conference as Clemson, and Trevor Lawrence has to play another season of football.
You're in the same division, not just conference. You're in the same division.
Like, bro, like, and on top of that, like, if Trevor Lawrence has a Justin Herbert season next year, who's to say he's still going to leave? Who's to say Trevor Lawrence wants to be on the Giants? Who's to say Trevor Lawrence wants to be on the Jets? Who's to say Trevor Lawrence wants to be a Jaguar? Who's to say Trevor Lawrence looks like the top 10 of the NFL draft next year after having a rough season and says, yeah, I want to deal with that? Like, and then on top of that, like, either there's a possibility Trevor Lawrence might be coming out in the same draft as Tua. So if you're Mike Norvell, you're in the same division as the incumbent. And then on top of that, the Coastal sucks, but has been competitive with each other. So now you're going to have to play teams that know that you have an open shot at getting to the ACC championship game. You're just a necessary casualty. Whereas at Memphis, you laid the groundwork for recruiting. You beat Cincinnati. You beat SMU. You were in the same conference as the group of 5 king UCF, and UCF wasn't even in the final discussion. You're going to the Cotton Bowl this year. That's the first step to doing anything at a group of 5 school, is to make the New Year's 6 bowl game and get on that national radar. At one point, UCF got ranked 8th. Wasn't close to making the playoff, but they were in the top 10. And if they had kept things going this season, there would have been a discussion. It's Penn State. Penn State isn't a mountaintop that couldn't have been climbed. So as far as not coaching the bowl game, I'm not with it. I just honestly feel like the situations are different. We know Lane Kiffin has an ego. We talked about it for like the past 2 weeks. We had a feeling Lane Kiffin was going to, bite the apple again. With Mike Norvell, though, I'm confused because I just don't see how FSU is a better job than Memphis right now.
So those are your major coaching changes there, and we'll see how things go with Memphis and FAU going forward. So
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? It's a long process. It's a hard, thought out process. Yeah, I know. I was there. From March of this year, thinking about how I'm going to do this, doing all my research, trying to get everything right. What platforms can we use and how we going to record it and how we going to make it sound good and make it all this happen. And then I came upon Anchor. The Anchor app on my phone, the easiest choice I could ever make to do a podcast. It's free to use. You don't got to pay for nothing. You can record episodes whenever you're ready. You can edit it and then you can release them when you want to. And you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how you're going to distribute it on other platforms because Anchor has partnerships with Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Breaker, Castbox, Pocket Cast, whatever you name it. Because the Playmakerz Blog Podcast is the podcast that I use. We are on all them platforms. We are on 9 platforms just by using the Anchor app. So pretty much all the questions that you have questions about doing a podcast, go to the Anchor app or go to the Anchor website, anchor.fm.com, and just search through it, ask questions. Because I tell you, a free app that does all this, there's nothing more you can ask for. I even got friends, they doing their podcast on the Anchor app. Faith Talk, you might have heard of it because it's very good. And it's great that it's an app like this, it's a website like this that makes it easier for people to do podcasts and do what they love best, talking about the things that they love to talk about. So give Anchor a try, see how much you like it. We'll love to hear your podcast.
Without further ado, we're not going to prolong it any further. It's time for the final talk of this group of 5 top 5 lists.
Yes, it's been an interesting year. When we walked into this season, Darnell, I'm not going to lie to you. I really thought it was UCF's title to lose. I didn't anticipate UCF having to collapse through the floor that they did.
And then it turned into a Boise State's title to lose.
And then, it happens.
And then it turned into Appalachian State title to lose.
And, shit happens.
And then it was just like, who is up for grabs now?
Yeah, and and up for grabs, it became up and grabs it was. So before we go through and talk about everything, because Darnell, there's a lot of math here. There's, the fans, they had their opinions, and Championship Sunday is Championship Sunday. We have to lay out some ground rules. First rule, you have to have won your conference. That's just how it is. I'll get into a little loophole a little bit later, but there's no way that if Appalachian State had lost to Louisiana and finished the season 12-1, like undefeated up until that game, then lost. There's no way we're saying Appalachian State is the best group of 5 team in football. Even if it was a last-second field goal, no way in hell. You must have played. Go ahead.
So the options are the options were.
Let me finish it. No, because you're gonna start doing stuff. You must have played a Power 5 opponent. You can't be doing the MAC stuff. You can't be doing the Sun Belt stuff. If you got an inflated record like 11-1, and we look, and your best opponent is Liberty, that's not gonna work. You must have had a winning record. Now, there's crazy years where I'm sure there's going to be a conference champion that's 6-6 or 5-7, but we don't do that here. You can't be the best team in the country with a losing record, even if you did play a bunch of Power 5 opponents. And then, because there are a lot of teams not named Notre Dame that are independent right now, there is a loophole. Because the BYUs and the Liberties might get scheduled for a lot of money games, and they could, in fact, win those money games, you can have a weighted record if you play 4 or more Power 5 schools and you're an independent. That can get the conference champion rule waived in certain cases. Now, please continue what you were going to say.
So there were 4 options that was on Facebook and Twitter. You had Boise State, winners of the Mountain West. You had Memphis, the American champions, Appalachian State, the Sun Belt champions, and Florida Atlantic, the Conference USA champion. As that was mentioned earlier, we couldn't consider the Met champion for obvious reasons.
Didn't have a losing record, but Jesus Christ.
So those are 4 options, and the Question was, who was the best group of 5 team this season? Not overall, not this season. Now, I have gotten all the votes. So 25 of the votes went to Boise State. Not surprising because, most people see Boise State and they just assume, Boise State. 15 went to Appalachian State.
Okay.
I think someone was thinking like you, Dallas, when we said it was Appalachian State's to lose, but I don't think they followed the Sun Belt.
Yeah, I don't think they followed the rest of the season.
7 votes went to Memphis. 1 vote went to FAU.
Understandable with the FAU thing. So first off, and did you include the Twitter votes?
Yes.
Okay, so all right. Okay, good. First off, not upset. Perfectly understand why some people would still think Boise State is the best team in the country. But if you thought that Boise State was the best team in the country this year, I kind of have to go back to the Clemson argument I've been saying like the entire year. Like, how is Boise the best team, but Clemson isn't? The Mountain West wasn't weak this year, but bro, played a 4-loss team making their first appearance. Well, let's digest that real quick. Boise State, the incumbent champion Fresno State went 4-8. That's the first thing. Boise State, I think, clinched their berth in the championship game like 2 weeks ago. And then on top of that, like, you play a 4-loss champion. I mean, yeah, a 4-loss division champion in Hawaii, making their first appearance ever. And that kind of says what it says. I mean, you got Wyoming, who never got ranked. I think Air Force was maybe ranked once in a top 5 poll. Very few teams in the Mountain West, if any, besides Boise State, got ranked this year. Whereas you look at a Appalachian State, and if you think Appalachian State is the best team, then I really have to ask you, because Darnell, as you mentioned before, a lot of the fans that communicate with us on the Facebook, you can kind of tell they don't keep up with the Power 5 at all.
Group of 5.
I mean, Group of 5. It's the Power 5 to us. But yeah, Group of 5. Like, you could kind of tell. Because these are the same people that will say Appalachian State is the best Power 5 team in the country, but will argue against Clemson. I keep mentioning Clemson because, I mean, bro, let's just act like it is. They act like Clemson was playing in a Group of 5 conference this year. So when you transition over to who is actually going to be the first ever national champion for the Playmakerz Blog Group of 5 Top 5, at one point in the season, 4 teams from this conference was ranked at once, I think. SMU, Navy, Cincinnati, and Memphis. 4 teams. And I think in UCF's best years, maybe 2 teams from the American were ranked. This year there was 4. They proved themselves to be the deepest conference by far. And after Memphis beat Cincinnati, they pretty much held on to the number 1 spot in the Group of 5 the entire year. And pretty much almost every poll, and I think our poll, then they went on to beat Cincinnati twice in 2 weeks. It's one thing in the NFL, or even in college in Oklahoma's case, where you play a team twice, but there's some space in between. Darnell, they beat them, Memphis beating Cincinnati.
To get into the championship game.
Listen, because you're messing up the point. Yeah, they beat them to get into the championship. Both of them were going to get a championship game regardless. Dude, they beat Cincinnati in a game where home field advantage was on the line. Then the next one, they beat them again in another close game. They played them 2 weeks in a row with the biggest stakes you could possibly have. And let's not forget, earlier in the season, they were only in an ABC primetime game going up against another Group of 5 opponent.
Oh, that'll be SMU.
That only happens when you're possibly one of the most relevant teams in the country. Yeah. Everybody wanted to see the Cardiac Ponies, and it had been since the 80s. But hey, you could have scheduled the Cardiac Ponies being on ABC against anybody. He knew good and damn well why they scheduled that game against Memphis. And please don't try to act funny with the money. It is clear, Darnell. And please, if you want to be objective, play devil's advocate, please do. But I don't see a reasonable argument why Memphis is not the national champion this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. Like I said, they had to beat Cincinnati to get into the championship because Navy did what they did to Houston. And if Cincinnati would have won, it would have been Cincinnati and Navy up in Cincinnati. That didn't happen because not only did Memphis win, they actually got home field advantage for the championship game, and they beat Cincinnati again. So 3 losses for Cincinnati on the year, 1 to Ohio State and 2 to Memphis.
And the crazy thing is, those aren't bad losses. One is the number 1 team in the country going into the playoff. Another one's been the number 1 team in the group of 5 for a few weeks now.
So, for you Appalachian State fans or people who just seen Appalachian State and picked them, hey, you discredit Appalachian State. They beat North Carolina, South Carolina. Yes, they did. When you know who they lost to at home?
Georgia Southern. A Sun Belt team. Y'all know because
matter of fact, that was the week before they had to play South Carolina.
And Darnell, because you're probably going to see something in the Facebook comment. Like, bro, everybody knows. Let's not even front. Let's not act brand new. Everybody knows if you were a group of 5 team in the BCS era, you lose 1 game, you're out the running for the bowl. Everybody knew in the BCS you had to run the table to get a BCS bowl game. And on top of that, you weren't even guaranteed the at-large bid if you went the table. If you were a sorry-ass group of 5 team in a sorry-ass conference, you're still getting jumped over by a Power 5 team if they only have 1 loss and 1 undefeated.
And so that leads me to those Broncos up in Boise State.
Oh, the ones who not too well.
For all you Boise State people out there, for all you Mountain West people out there, for all of you who seen Boise State, it's like, man, Boise State, I've seen Boise State name for how many years now? There's no way they cannot be the best group I've seen this season. They lost to BYU.
An independent team. A team who had played up to that point Utah and Tennessee and Washington, I think.
So
yeah, Boise State beat FSU in a game that ended up being in Tallahassee due to uncontrollable events. But I mean, come on, bro. Like, they lost to a team that beat Tennessee on the road in overtime. Okay, Florida State, in the current state that Florida State is in before they fired Willie Taggart, or Tennessee on the road.
They almost lost to Louisiana Monroe. As a matter of fact, they should have lost to Louisiana Monroe.
And Louisiana Monroe came back. I watched that game. That game looked like every other cupcake money game you've seen every season until the third quarter. This is what the Willie Taggart era was at FSU. So Boise State, in a clean slate, clean record, 0-0. Of course they're beating FSU. Hell, FSU probably tried to get it played in Jacksonville for a reason. At least they could have an excuse.
So, just looking at it, matter of fact, what was Memphis' only loss on this season? They only loss was to Temple. Matter of fact, I remember that game.
Upset City Temple?
Yep.
No conference opponent Temple?
Hell, was in Temple.
Temple, who actually had another big win besides Memphis that season, Temple?
Yep, that Temple.
So you mean to tell me, I don't know, man. Playing the team that beat UCF, beating them 2 weeks in a row. The only other team they lost to was Ohio State. Temple, who's always been upsetting Temple, who got out-gold in the Power 5 job he didn't deserve. I don't know, man. 4-loss Hawaii. Yeah, Hawaii played a lot of decent opponents. They played some Pac-12 opponents. Then they lost against the Mountain West opponents. Yeah, BYU. Old independent BYU played a good schedule, but they didn't play Ohio State. They didn't play the number one team in the country. They didn't beat everybody else, including the king of the group of five, until they got to you. I mean, I don't know, man.
I'm in agreement. Memphis.
First ever national champions.
I gotta give it to the Memphis Tigers, man. Matter of fact, they've been to the college championship 3 years straight. And they finally won because they had to face UCF.
Yeah. Let us all remember. Last year, the Mountain West Championship game was Utah State, Fresno State.
Nope.
Again.
Fresno State and Boise State.
Oh, yeah, Utah State lost the tie. Oh, yeah, and Boise State.
And Fresno State upset Boise State and Boise State for the championship.
Rough. Now, granted, the past doesn't count. That's what the committee has tried to establish with the Clemson thing. But even still, I mean, it can go tomato, potato, left or right. But no matter how you say it on the Facebooks or the Twitters, I am sorry. 4 loss Hawaii does not cut the cheese.
So there you go.
Bowl against Penn State. Of course, this is a regular season national championship. The bowl games will not matter, especially because the entire group of 5 got purged. So, yeah.
Memphis Tigers. Playmakerz Blog. Champions.
First game, 2019. Yeah.
So there you go. And now, before we get up out of here, just gonna look at some interesting bowl game matchups that's gonna happen this bowl season. And one jumped off the page. That is a Buck Overtime Bowl, down in the FAU, where FAU will be playing at. They're going against Southern Methodist University.
FIU versus SMU. Who would have ever thought back in the day that would be an interesting matchup?
Want to hear another interesting? Oh my god!
What?
Chris Patterson did not step down.
Mm-mm-mm.
The Las Vegas Bowl will be something to watch, boy, because the Huskies of Utah are playing Boise State.
No.
Washington and Boise.
How did this happen? Where did it go wrong? And what's the name of that bowl?
Las Vegas.
Yo, hey, shout out to the Las Vegas Bowl CEO and COO. Shout out to them getting that done. They knew good and damn well what they was doing. Putting asses in seats.
Yeah, I want to shout out to the New Orleans Bowl too. Appalachian State and UAB.
You talk about making the case for maybe being the best Power 5 team in the country. Yeah, this is a team coming off of an absolute drubbing, but they were in Championship Sunday. I mean, hey.
That's going to see. Cheez-It Bowl. Air Force and Washington State.
Air Force and Washington State. Huh. That is intriguing. Air Force had a decent season this year, all things considered. People forget, man, like the Army and Navy is difficult enough. West Point is one of the hardest schools in the world to get into. People also forget that the Air Force Academy ain't no slouch to get in there either. Ain't no slouch to stay in there either. So Air Force having the season that they had is actually very intriguing.
I'm shout out to the bowl committee who making the schedule for this one because the playoffs is the 28th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you get to the playoffs, you got Notre Dame and Iowa State in the Camping World Bowl, and then you got your first New Year's Six Bowl when Penn State and Memphis get together.
That Notre Dame Iowa State is interesting. See, because here's another reason why, because Notre Dame, we don't double dip. You want to treat Notre Dame like a Power 5 team and put them in the playoff and have them get trounced, that's on y'all. But once they basically decided that Notre Dame was not a Power 5 team for whatever unjustifiable reason, we can't include them. With that being said, good God, I mean, yet another Power 5 opponent. And with the way Notre Dame is set up, I mean, bowl game against a Power 5 opponent, 10-win season. I mean, a lot of people are saying Brian Kelly hasn't kept Notre Dame relevant, but he made the playoff, and they have a chance to have an 11-win season by beating a Power 5 team in a bowl. If you're a Notre Dame fan and you're against them joining a conference, I mean, how much better can you do?
Well, Dallas, I told you what was going to happen. You complained, you whined about it, and they still didn't care. Capital One Bowl, Miami, Florida. And guess who is playing each other? The Virginia Cavaliers and the Florida Gators.
Well, if they scored 17 on Clemson, at least that means that I might not be. I mean, there'll be a lot of pee breaks after the first 25 minutes of the game, but maybe it'll be okay before halftime, before it really opens up.
First of all, I already know why they changed the name of the Sun Bowl. That's first and foremost. That's funny to me. Secondly, the matchup is funny to me. They call it Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Oh, boy. And then you gonna put Florida State against Herm Edwards?
Wait a minute. Herm Edwards is playing a team in transition with a defensive line coach that is destined to be an interim head coach in nothing more. Florida State that had to beat Alabama State to be bowl eligible is playing Arizona State and Herm Edwards, the same Arizona State and Herm Edwards that played 32 true freshmen in an upset win over Oregon. Oh, sweet, merciful.
I love it. This is hilarious to me. Oh boy. Okay. So if out of the all 9 major bowl games, I think that would agree with me. The Liberty Bowl usually puts on some of the best games to ever watch.
Mm-hmm.
Navy against Kansas State.
Mm-hmm. And Navy's what, 9-4?
Yes.
Dang. So they have an opportunity to beat a Power 5 team and have 10 wins. Dude, like seriously though, again, because some people won't listen, some people will just have some tired of, but dude, Navy, a team who needed help to maybe sort of have a chance to play in the conference championship game, could finish the season with 10 wins.
Oh boy. How about the Alamo Bowl, Utah and Texas?
Hey, at one point in the season, that could have been a playoff game. Here's the weird thing about the bowl subdivision over the championship subdivision and basically every other level of college football. When you don't have a real playoff, when your playoff is basically a mutated version of the BCS with more human influence, you kind of sort of have to take what you get. I am not going to sit here and look at Utah, Texas, Notre Dame, Iowa State, and one of the other good matchups you just said, and sit here and honestly say, man, these games are meaningless. Dude, if I'm a Notre Dame fan, if I'm a Navy fan, hell, if I'm a Kansas State fan, I am not scoffing at my bowl game. If I'm an Arizona State fan and did not expect Herman Edwards to be able to do what he's doing, and I see that the roster is made up entirely of freshmen and redshirt freshmen, these bowls are not meaningless to me. If I'm a Power 5 team against a Power 5 team, if I'm a Group of 5 team against a Power 5 team, and I have a double-digit win season on the line, these bowls do not mean nothing just because the playoff is happening.
All right, you ready? You ready to get into the real heart of the matter?
Mm-hmm.
New Year's Eve, Citrus Bowl. Boy, that Citrus Bowl, boy. Ooh, Orlando, Florida. Jim Harbaugh versus Nick Saban.
Hold on, let me, because I was watching a video of Kobe Bryant cussing out somebody on Twitter. Say that again?
Jim Harbaugh versus Nick Saban. Citrus Bowl, New Year's Day, actually.
And where is the Citrus Bowl?
Orlando.
What day is that?
New Year's.
Shit, I might be at my in-laws. I might eat tailgate. But Orlando, Florida, Citrus Bowl. I mean, again, if somebody was worth their contract, this should have been a playoff game. This is an example of literally what I just said, Darnell. If you're a Michigan fan who knows you're never going to beat Ohio State, and you're an Alabama fan who knows that once Tua got hurt, your season was over, is this bowl meaningless? Like, if you're Jim Harbaugh, this can save your job. If you're Jim Harbaugh, you can say, but I beat Nick Saban. I beat Alabama in a bowl game. Not some regular season game where we're both trying to pad our resume for the committee. A bowl game, a postseason game. Like, basically our championships. I brought home a trophy. I beat Mac Jones. I beat Jerry Jeudy. I beat Nick Saban. I hope Nick Saban walks the dog and finally frees that fan base up there in Ann Arbor.
I knew something was coming. You was doing too much Jim Harbaugh good talk for something not to come back around. I like that. I like that Bat Bowl, Minnesota and Auburn, down in Tampa.
Oh, that's actually really good. See, this is the frustrating thing about the bowl subdivision, Darnell. Like, if we would just stop acting like we're getting a real national championship, it'd be so much better. Bro, just have a poll that matters more than the other polls and be done with it, okay? Have your college football playoff committee and their nice little poll, and have all the bowl games shake out, and then have the poll like that. Because AP used to be that poll. But, we've had the BCS, we've had the college football playoff, we've been tainted, we can't go back to the simpler times. Dude, just have that one poll and have like one person from every official NCAA recognized poll ever be on the committee. Have some coaches on the committee. Have Bobby Bowden, he ain't doing nothing. Have Bobby Bowden on the committee. Urban Meyer, when he's not talking college football at noon, have him fly over at 4 o'clock or something. Have him on the committee.
I think I've seen this Rose Bowl matchup before. I'm trying to remember what year. But I think I've seen this matchup before. Oregon and Wisconsin and Pasadena.
Was that the Russell Wilson Rose Bowl?
It probably was. I think he lost that one.
Yeah.
I think Oregon won that one.
Does not have Russell Wilson, but the result may be the same.
All right. Now, Dallas, if you was to have a problem, I think this will be your problem right here. Because one team was in this bowl last year and got destroyed by another team in the other conference. So why is they back in the same bowl game again the following year?
Mm-hmm.
Sugar Bowl, the Georgia Bulldogs, this time they are playing the Baylor Bears.
Warm up the yacht because Georgia's about to get boat raced. Wow. Can we just for a second, can we marinate on the fact that Jake Fromm has tanked himself into being a 6th-round camp arm? Can we talk about the fact that Jake Fromm, like 2 years ago, was supposed to be like Tua, then maybe him, like 8 or 9. It was like once Daniel Jones got drafted, Jake Fromm was like a sure first-rounder. What the hell? Like, bro, if you're Kirby Smart, Justin Fields is quarterbacking the number 1 team in the country. Justin Fields is going to New York to lose to Joe Burrow in the Heisman race. That was on your team. A Heisman finalist that is playing in the playoff for the number 1 team, number 2 team in the country, was on your team. What the hell? And sometimes we talk about the whole, why do players get punished and the coaches get to do what they want and, loyalty this and this is what it transposes. It is what it transposes, a good thing, because Justin Fields would have been wasted if he had to wait for Jake Fromm to graduate. Same thing with Joe Burrow. But still, I don't know, Georgia fans. Because last time I checked, you still haven't won a national championship. You had the same amount of national championships for Kirby Smart that you did with Mark Richt. Mark Richt had a hell of a Sugar Bowl against Hawaii that 1 year, though.
All right. So those are some interesting bowl games we'll look at next week. We'll probably send out a link because we're going to do what we did last year. Capital One Bowl Mania through ESPN and see how this goes. Dallas won it last year.
Yeah, didn't think I would, but yeah.
And he won in dominant fashion because.
What's the final tally for the picks? How much did you win by?
I won by 10.
10? What was our win percentages?
Dude. Just to say it's nowhere close to being close to 50. We so over 50, it's ridiculous.
Damn. So how many did we end up losing? Do you have it in front of you?
I got to do the final totals. I got to add everything up. But I got all the picks down and wrote everything. I just got to do the numbers. Last time I did it, I was at 107 and 44. You was at 99 and 52.
No, actually, yeah, that's way over 500. Okay. And see, I think we pretty much got the championship Saturday completely right. So that means that we both broke 100. Well, it's another year of knowing what the hell we talking about.
So, if you think you can hang with us, be prepared next week, cause I got to redeem myself. I lost last year. I think now I know I need to stop being biased to the goddamn conference on mine.
Well, that and now you've had a full season of, and you've admitted this multiple times, so I'm not rubbing it in. But hey, you've paid attention to the fine land that is the Group of Five. You now know what you've been missing, so you know how to pick some of the games a tad bit better.
So we got that covered. And final thing of business before we get out of here. I ain't picking Navy to beat Army on Saturday, and whatever Dallas wants to say, let him say it.
Don't know what the heck happened to Jeff Monken and Army last year. I mean, this year. Maybe it's just a retooling year, but yeah, this should be Navy's. Navy has, I think they're on a 3-game skid. And actually, I keep forgetting because of the gap week. This is a win that can get them over double digits. And if they could beat a Power 5 team in Kansas State, that sets them up very well going into next year. And they could be 11-4. That is a lot of games for a team that is not playing in a New Year's Six Bowl. But, yeah, we both got Navy. Navy's the better team this year, but the Army-Navy game is one of those games where the pageantry and all that stuff is a bowl game in itself, which means that crazy things can happen, but don't think they will.
So, hey, that's all we got for you. Next week, we're going to start picking these games for bowl season. We're going to break them down week by week like we did last year. And, hey, iHeartRadio, we're on. You already know about Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, all that good stuff. And we might be getting on some radio stations, just to let you know.
It's there. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Your boy's been working a lot undercover. So.
A lot of information and whatnot. Shout out to the Argos of the University of West Florida playing in a real playoff. We're going to be in the national semifinals against Little O'Brien. So, hey.
Good luck to Dallas's alma mater. Let's see if y'all can bring one back to the cola.
Hope so. Things are looking good. Things are looking right. Defense is playing well. We knocked out the number 1 team in the country a couple of weeks ago. So the field is wide open.
That says a lot. If you ain't catch the NFL podcast, go back and listen to it. So much got into. That's all I'm going to say. There's so much to get into. So, with that being said, that's Dallas Glenn over there. I am down to the Playmakerz Silence. And Dallas, I'm going to be honest, it's against my better judgment, but we do have one last pay-per-view to get to.
What?
Goddamn TLC.
That is against your better judgment.
Wrestling fans, I really don't care about this pay-per-view.
Real quick before you keep going and dig yourself in a hole and make yourself have to deal with this. First of all, be honest with yourself. Completely objective. Dude, A, you know you don't care about the pay-per-view. B,
I just said.
Exactly. You know you don't care about the pay-per-view. Who the hell is really going to listen to that episode?
You know what? You know what we're going to do? It's Christmas season. We went through this last year. So for you wrestling fans, we're going to hold off for a while. I'm going to get ready for the road to WrestleMania. That's what we going to do. See you after Royal Rumble, sucker. So, we'll wrestling fans, we'll holler at y'all in January. Goodbye and good night. Bye.